What is up, YouTube? Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Life as I Know It. Today our guest is Fred Taylor, and I'm pretty excited about this one. Me and Fred have been friends for I don't know how many years, but since 7th grade. Yeah, whatever math is. But we're just gonna kind of dissect his life and just see the things that he goes through, the things he's been through, and the things he's wanting to do. So, Fred, what was it like being in the military?
It sucked. A lot. I mean, that's pretty much it. No, it.
I mean, that's
the Army takes good care of you, but they expect a lot in return. I mean, you got to say goodbye to your family half the time.
Was that hard for you at that moment?
If I didn't have my son, yeah, it wouldn't have been as hard. But you know, I had Aiden before I went in, and being out in the field training, and then the unit I went to didn't even do that much. But when I was away from home, you know, I wanted to be.
You wanted to be home.
Yeah, I wanted to be a dad.
Yeah, it's like,
you know.
All right.
So I was gone like 15 hours a day working, and that's not even when I was out training. That was just like a typical weekday.
Okay. Did you ever get, as they say, it smoked?
Oh, all the time, a lot.
Like
I spent 3 years and 16 weeks in the Army. Not that I was counting, and I probably spent like a solid 2 years of that probably doing push-ups.
What is the craziest story that you have of you getting smoked?
So this one's just crazy because of the reason I got smoked. I had this crazy squad leader, right? Not dropping any names, Sergeant Colmer. And he was like a real big health freak. And you've known me long enough. I'm not. Like, I was 5 seconds ago, I was literally talking about getting 3 McDoubles at 10 o'clock at night. He made us go to this vegan restaurant. And I hate salad, man. I can't stand it.
Oh, I love salad.
I can't stand it. I need meat. And so we went and I ordered a salad. And I ate like half of it. And I left it in my buddy Gwen's car. And the next day, he asked me, Sergeant Colmer did, if he's like, you probably threw that salad away, didn't you? And I lied to him for some weird reason. I was like, no. I was like, it's home in the fridge, you know. My wife's going to eat it later. And he was like, really? And in my head, I was like, dude, here's your chance. Tell him the truth. And then the other half of me's like, nah, dude, you're in too deep. Keep lying. So I was like, yeah, dude, it's in the fridge. Later that day, we all actually got into Gwen's car. And he saw the salad, and he walked like 20 yards away and put it on the ground. And we were on a parking lot of paved road, and he told me to low crawl to it. And I don't know if you've ever seen how they low crawl in the military, but like you literally have your face on the ground, and you reach out with your arms, and you drag your face. And he like kept telling me to drag my face in the dirt. And I'm like, no, dude, it's a paved road. I'm not doing that. But so I crawled over, I picked it up. He made me crawl 20 yards back to him, and then he wanted to inspect it, and he looked at it, and he's like, okay, now go throw it in the trash, like 10 yards away. And he got pissed because I just turned around, and I said frag out, and I chucked it like a grenade into the dumpster. Thank God I made it, because if I'd spilled that all the road, guaranteed he would have made me pick up each piece individually. So, I mean, that was like a 20-minute smoking, and it's not the worst smoking I ever got, but I got smoked for a salad, so.
What's the worst one you ever had?
Worst one I ever had?
Or top two if you can't say.
No, I definitely know the worst one. It was... We were out in the field qualifying, and it was nighttime, and it's kind of, you know, when you're out in the field, it's kind of like big boy rules. It's a little less stupid than being back at the company. And you had 2 people for guard. One's guarding the patrol base where you're all sleeping, and the other one's guarding ammo shack. And Sergeant Colmer signed me and him up for the first shift. And so for those of you that haven't been in, the first shift or the last shift are the 2 best ones to have. Because if you have the first shift, then you get to sleep the rest of the night all the way through until wake up. If you have the last shift, you get to wake up early, do your hygiene stuff.
Get prepared.
And you're all ready to go, so when everyone wakes up in the morning, you get to go get first dibs on breakfast MREs. And that's what it's all about. So we were first, and usually you wake them up like 15 minutes prior, the next shift. And I was like, you know what, dude, like we're out in the field, we're having a good time. I'm going to let them sleep a little bit extra.
No.
So I woke up like 5, 6, 7 minutes prior, and they took too long getting up and going and relieving Sergeant Colmer. So this one's going to have a lot of cussing in it, just to let you know, because I'm going to do it word for word.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I tried to fight it. So
try your hardest.
I'm laying in my like sleep system, having my last, like just about to put out my last, you know, cigarette before I go to sleep. And I just hear Sergeant Colmer ask my boy McKinney, shout out to my boy Mac, who the fuck is this? And I just hear McKinney, Sergeant. And McKinney, it's 9:05. Why am I just now getting relieved 5 minutes late? And McKinney told me, he's like, I just got woke up. And he's like, oh yeah, who woke you up? And
no.
my boy McKinney,
Oh, no.
because he's a straight G, he tried to play it off. He's like, oh, I'm not too sure. And when I remember hearing that, I was laying in my thing
you
like
got
that. I was
me.
like, my boy. But Comer signed me up for, like, with him. So he's like, oh, you don't know, huh? Taylor D, where are you? And I was just like, yeah, I'm right over here, Sergeant. And he's like, you know, get over here. So I'm like getting all my stuff together, and I get over there, and he smoked the hell out of me for like 30 minutes. Nothing but low crawls. And I didn't have my top on. I just had my tan t-shirt. And like he made me low crawl all the way over to this road to observe it. We were gonna set up set up an ambush. So we had to scout the area. So low crawl all the way over there. Then I had to low crawl all the way back so I could brief the rest of the unit on the ambush. Then I had to low crawl all the way back so we could set up the ambush. And then, you know, before the ambush happens, like, oh, we just got a call from top. You know, the whole mission's canceled now. And then I had to low crawl all the way back. And my buddy Gwen woke up in the middle of this, and he said he thought someone was getting raped because, like, all he hears behind him is, like, someone grunting and all that. And he rolled over at one point. It was going on, and Comer was standing right over him. He's like, well, you want some too, Gwen? And he's just like, yeah, no, Sergeant. He rolled back and went to sleep. And when we woke up the next morning, you could see my trail in the dew, like just going over the hills. And that was probably the first smoking I ever had. It broke me, like, for a solid day.
Yeah, I never went to, I tried to go to the military, but I couldn't.
You didn't miss much, bro.
It's
pretty tragic.
But the closest thing to that was Coach Mack in high school football.
Uh-huh.
And I had to run reminders every single day for running on a wet field.
Dude, I'm a smart ass, man. Like, I can't help it. Like, I spent so much time doing push-ups, flutter kicks, sprints, pull-ups. Like, I couldn't help myself at all.
Yeah, I mean, I remember bear crawling, but it's probably nothing like you know. And
We had plenty of bear crawls, too. Yeah. It's just like, bear crawls, they just went on forever. They didn't stop. And they wanted you to growl, and, you know, bears make noises. It's like, dude,
yeah,
I hate this. Every day, I just count it
Coach
down.
Mack used to have us on the goal line, and he'd say, okay, go 100 yards of the field. So me and whoever had run reminders would bear crawl all the way to the field, and we turned around and looked, and he was like 3 fields down in the baseball field, and he's like, hey, down here. I was like, no. It's like bear crawl all the way. It's not like you probably had those experiences.
Yeah, dude, they get really creative. They just don't stop. There was just 2 sergeants. My first sergeant actually was Sergeant Taylor, and his best friend Sergeant Hacksaw. When they would lead PT, it would just turn into a smoke session because they would start hyping each other up, and it would go from something simple to the next thing you know, we're all just hanging from the pull-up bars, waiting for them to tell us up and down.
Yeah, hey, we know you guys got something going on.
Yeah, like, hey, we've been doing push-ups, sit-ups, and pull-ups for like an hour and a half, but guess what? We're about to do a 10-mile run, so let's go, boys.
See who has the stronger group.
Were they in 2 different groups or the same?
2 different squads.
2 different.
Sergeant Taylor had a second squad, and Sergeant Hackshaw had third squad, but it turned into a damn smoke session every time.
Every time.
Like, whenever I would hear the platoon sergeant, Hackshaw, Ricky, you guys got it today. I was like, here we go, boys.
So other than the military, you're also in law enforcement. What are some of the obstacles that you deal with being in law enforcement that you struggle with?
Being professional. I'm sure that's very hard for you to believe.
Yeah.
No, like, what people don't realize is law enforcement nowadays, you know, you're a public servant, and that's relatively new to the profession. That really started after 9/11. You know, before that, it was law enforcement, and now there's a lot more to it. It's a lot more about serving the public. It's not about arresting people and writing tickets. It's, you know,
finding cows.
It's about chasing cows down the railroad for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's, you know, about helping people, and like 90% of the calls we get, like, they aren't things that need a cop.
What are some things that needed a cop? Let's say 2 things, and 2 things that you didn't need a cop. That you're why did you call me?
Anything that needs a cop, you know, domestics,
Mm-hmm.
domestic assault. We get a lot of domestics. Luckily, in our area, not too many of them are overly violent. They usually don't get much past, like, you know, pushing, maybe a slap.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, you know, Pulaski County over that way where they're just duking it out in the house. But, you know, we get lots of those and lots of suspicious activity / drug activity where you got people using random innocent people's mailboxes for drug drops, or just innocent people that live in a nice neighborhood, and, you know, a house goes up for rent and some turds move in, and all of a sudden you've got 30 cars coming in and out of there at 2 o'clock in the morning selling dope.
Yeah, I used to live near a house that had that. There's like 2 people that lived there, but it was always packed.
And it's weird because the cars that come, they're only there for like 5 minutes. Like, I don't know, I'm sure it's nothing, you know.
Yeah, they're probably dropping off pizza.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure it's nothing criminal. 2 things that like the cow in the railroad, man, like.
Yeah, so
when
you guys who don't know, me and Fred talked on the phone for probably an hour of him going after this cow and trying to find this cow. And I don't know how it ended up. Did you end up wrangling the cow? Like,
no, dude, like I found it and I was like, so like I don't like cows at all. They creep me out. I didn't like grow up around a farm or anything. So like, I don't have a lot of experience with cows, and it's gonna sound ridiculous. They're menacing, dude. It's like. And this one was a younger steer, and it maybe like 500 pounds, but like it's just a 500-pound creature, and it just stares at you, and it doesn't like react at all. I'm just sitting there on the track, like, dude, you know what? Like my second job starts in like 20 minutes. I ain't got time for this. Like I gotta get halfway across the county, so I just left.
When you were telling me about that cow, I hung up and I was like, protect and serve.
Yeah, dude, $5,500 to go to the academy, and I chase cows.
I chase cows.
Pretty right on.
You also do serious stuff. It's just
not as much. And then
another.
So the second one that doesn't like require police that we get called for a lot is juvenile complaints, and it's usually like someone will call us, you know, because they can't get their 14, 15, 16-year-old, like they're just like they're out of control. Like what was those stupid shows on TV they had where it was like the really rough nanny would come in and.
So yeah, she'd take stuff out of the fridge and the kid'd be crying like, "Why am I peanut butter?"
Exactly. You know, like the kid's out of control, so they bring in the hard British nanny that you know has zero chill. So it's like those situations, and you know you just go to those calls and you're like, dude, like, and they're never close by. Like they're always way out of the way. It takes me like 30 minutes to get there, and it's not like an emergency, so I'm not like running code with lights and sirens. So it's like I'm just driving normal. And it takes me 30 minutes to get there, and I get there and I'm listening. I'm like, you don't need the cops, man. Like, beat your kids, jeez.
Yeah. So
PSA.
So you are into spanking.
Are you talking about for kids or something else? Because you look at me really creepy when you said that.
Yeah, no kids.
I mean, so like if you look at like Missouri statutes, like it doesn't say anywhere you can't, you know, physically discipline your kids. It's basically one of those like does the punishment match the crime? Like if your kid forgot to do the dishes. You can't.
Why did you do?
You can't like put boxing gloves on and like beat the hell out of him. But you know, pop on the mouth when they're talking back, just spanking them when they're misbehaving. Like that's not against the law. Now, whether you agree with it or not, that's a totally different conversation. But you know, because that's what we get a lot. You know, the state won't let us discipline your kids. It's like the state didn't say that. It just said, you know, when it comes to the point where it looks like your son got in a boxing match, that's where it becomes a problem.
He's 6.
Like what was it? 8 years ago, Adrian Peterson taking that switch to his little boy. And it's like. I get where you're coming from, but bro, you missed his cheeks like half the time, like and hit his nuts, like.
Yeah, I mean, I will spank my kid, but I won't.
Dude, you're so full of it, bro. You're having a little girl. She gonna have you wrapped around her finger. You ain't gonna do nothing.
Look, I wanna think that I won't be a doormat for my daughter.
Yeah, keep thinking that.
But you know, I feel like they're.
I thought that with both my sons, and it's especially Thaddeus, dude. He knows exactly what faces and voices to use. And it's like, man, you're so cute. I just want to punch you as hard as I can in the face.
What were some obstacles being a dad? Because I'm about to go into that. So if you got any tips or anything for me?
Obstacles being a dad.
Things that were super easy or super hard.
Honestly, being a dad has been pretty easy. I mean, you've known me long enough. I've been a kid for 26 years, so it's like real easy to like connect with them. I've always been good with kids. I always wanted to be a dad. Like being an adult is harder than being a dad, in my opinion. I mean, it's very easy for me to put them first. You know, I hardly spend money on myself. Like this sweater, I just bought this like 5 months ago. It was like the first shirt I bought myself in like 2 years. You know, everything. My kids are spoiled, not necessarily in a bad way, but you know, they've got a childhood that I never had. They've got lots of toys.
Well, that's our goal.
Yeah, they've got lots of toys. They got a nice house they get to live in. No, being a dad is super easy, man. And I mean, we're enough alike that you're like it's gonna be easy. Like honestly, the hardest part that you're gonna have is like the single dad stuff, because there was things that like my ex was a lot better at than I am, and so now I'm kind of had to step in to like where I'm still doing all the things that I took care of, but now I'm having to take care of the things that she took care of too. which that goes more being an adult and being
just
a dad, but it's like
filling in those responsibilities.
exactly being everything whenever you have your daughter with you.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for me, you know, I will have, you know, that support there to help me out. But my biggest fear is like, so my dad used to fill up our camping bag with like rocks and bricks and make us walk the yard for I don't know how long. It felt like 10 years. And
That's why your quads were so big in 7th grade, though.
and I was like, you know, I don't want to ever have to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever will. But then on the other aspects, it's like she's gonna run me over and get whatever she wants. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that seat goes up and down.
That's
You
what-
and you were, you know, crapping on it earlier. But that's awesome.
I mean, it would come if I had some support, but
Yeah.
it's whatever. I guess. Not
so-
like I deserve it.
In the world right now, people see, I don't want to just say police officers in general, but anyone that has an authority figure at all, they see them as they're just out to get us. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they don't like us. They don't do, like, what would be your point of view on it, on that subject of, we're not out to get you, like, we're here to protect and serve, but there comes a point whenever we got to
I mean, my point of view is they're stupid. So, like,
Okay.
like in all seriousness, I don't. My loyalty doesn't lie with a profession. Like, you're not going to see me waving like a thin blue line flag. You're not going to see me reposting stuff from Blue Lives Matter. I'm more than the job, and when I'm not at work, I leave the job at work. That you know, it brings enough home with you. You know, like I don't have my work email set up on my phone specifically so I don't check it at home. Like when I'm not at home, or when I'm not at work, I'm not at work. You know, I'll have my supervisor.
I think that's good for anything, though.
Yeah,
because it clears your mind, and if you can't take time for yourself,
Yeah.
and you're always wrapped up in
Well, and dude,
everything
law
else.
enforcement, it's got so much baggage that comes with it, and so like I try to just leave that at the office or in the car. You know, my supervisor called me. You know, did you see the email so and so sent? I said no. Like I ain't at home. Like my captain retired last year. I was like the last one to find out because I was off for those 3 days, and it was like the first day I was off. He sent the email out, and I just happened to be talking to one of my buddies that I work with, and he said something about it. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
and like that was the guy that hired
because
me, and I had no idea. I was
there's
lost in the sauce.
Stress that you guys have to deal with that the public doesn't even know about. There's things that you guys see that the public has no idea about. There's all these different things that you guys have to avenue and go through that whenever we're trying to think of something from our perspective, if we would just take the second and be like, oh, what are they seeing? What have they dealt with? What stress are they doing? I mean, when you guys get out of your car and it's nighttime and you're walking up on a car, you don't know,
Yeah.
you know? And so,
Well, and that's Donut Operator. I don't know if you've ever seen his videos on YouTube.
no.
He does a lot of like he does police shooting breakdowns where he takes all this body camera footage, any other footage available. He'll kind of explain why the cops used what tactics they did or what was going through their heads, stuff like that. And you know, like you were saying, like he gives that perspective, and he also does it where he'll take someone that lied about a law enforcement incident and he'll use all the evidence he has to prove they're wrong. But one of the things he always says that I've always really liked is there's no common denominator between police shootings. Like pretty much every police shooting, it involves different officers, different people being shot.
Yeah, there's different emotions with everybody.
Different training, different life experiences, different professional experiences. And I try to explain that to people. You can't ever compare to...
Yeah, why aren't you like that officer?
Exactly.
It's like, well, we're all different.
And, because there's one that goes around where I think it was like a pro Second Amendment rally or something. And the guy's like getting ready to pull a gun. And instead of pulling his gun, the cop... Have you seen which one I'm talking about?
No.
The cop steps forward and like, instead of pulling for his gun or whatever, but it's a white dude. So everyone says like, oh, this is how they act. Well, I mean, that's a different cop.
Yeah, the cop could have been more
Not to
calm.
mention, the cop even went in an interview and explained why he did it. It was, he's at a gun rally. There's guns everywhere.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to pull my gun and escalate a situation in the middle of a crowd of
yeah.
people with guns. So that's why I made the decision that I did. And, another thing people are stupid about is they jump to conclusions right off the bat. All you have to do to get like a viral tweet or Facebook post nowadays is you have like 12 seconds of shaky camera footage, some random woman screaming in the background, cops shooting someone, and then like a long post that says why the cops suck, and people will eat that up and they'll share it. And as facts come out, it proves like that's not the case. Like
for logical people.
Well, yeah, because the ones people won't admit when they're wrong, especially when they jump to conclusions. Jacob Blake, the shooting in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
When it first came out, he was supposed to be just a good Samaritan that was breaking up a fight between two women. And people hopped on that right off the bat. And then, you know, as time goes by, it's like, oh, okay, he wasn't a good Samaritan. He was actually the reason for the call. Like, oh, and he was in the process of committing like 4 felonies.
Yeah.
Oh, and he resisted arrest. Oh, he put an officer in a headlock. Yeah. He shrugged off 2 taser attempts, and he was trying to steal a car full of children.
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to saying of don't judge a book by its cover, because...
Well, if you want to jump to conclusions, that's fine, but at least be, you know, man enough that when the facts come out... It's
yeah,
like,
hey, I was wrong.
Yeah, you know, and people are so... People want to be part of a movement so bad, and they're so quick to jump on police brutality. And police brutality is a terrible thing, and there are real victims of it every day in the country. Yeah. Well, I mean, but when you're so quick to make anyone a martyr, like Jacob Blake, like, I'm sorry, he's a terrible person.
Yeah, well, I mean, and if you just look at the facts, he's a terrible person.
Exactly. But I don't feel bad for him at all. Now, I'm not saying he deserves to die, because it's not my place to say that. I think the only people who deserve to die are pedophiles. You know, I don't care if anyone gets offended by that. Sorry for your movement for pedophile acceptance, but
I don't.
They're terrible people, and I think they deserve to die. But Jacob, like, he didn't deserve to die. But people have to realize you put yourself in a situation where, yeah, man, there's a chance. Like, I'm resisting arrest with 4 cops. I just put that one in a headlock, and I'm trying to steal a car from kids.
I'm getting punched in the back of the head. I don't know.
Like, I might be getting shot, and I've got a knife.
Like, you can't be going and reaching in a car whenever the cops are saying stop.
You literally have one hanging on you. Like, the cops literally hanging on the back of his shirt just trying to get him to stop. And, like I said, people want to be so quick. They'll turn any terrible person into a martyr.
I think people nowadays just like drama. Like, they just like...
They want to be part of a movement, man. Like, if you think about it, the generations before us, they always had movements. The civil rights movement with Dr. King, women's suffrage. Even in the 90s, there were still problems with discrimination. There was still movement, but, like, compared to the last 50 years in American existence, like, people, like, the country's great. I mean, people will complain about it and make America seem to be this terrible thing. It's like, yeah, that's why we get, like, more immigration than anyone else.
I mean, I know a couple people that travel all the time, and they say, if you think America's so bad, then go check out these other places, you know.
There's documented incidents where people hitchhiked across the Middle East to prove that they were peaceful, and they made it, like, 5 miles and got, you know, slaughtered. And I'm not saying, you know, Middle East isn't... Yeah, I'm not gonna go there. But
But you know, that's the thing.
People don't accept nowadays. You know, sorry, I'm about to cuss again, but there's shitty people in the world. And Jacob Blake was a shitty person, and I'm not. If that offends you, you're part of the problem because.
But that's in anything. You know, that's in law enforcement. There's
plenty of incidents where cops. I was who was that guy? Daniel Stover. I think it was the shooting in the southwest part of the country. And it was in that hotel, and the guy was like drunk as hell, and he got shot. The cop got a lot of flack because he had the cover on his AR-15 sight that said "You're fucked." You remember that one?
No.
And then I think it was last year, the year before, or something. Like, I can't remember if he went to trial and they acquitted him, or if grand jury decided not to move forward with charges, and people were really pissed about it. I can understand why that officer shot that guy. Because he did keep reaching back to pull up his shorts, but, you know, it looks like he might reach it. I was surprised that nothing happened to the supervisor issuing commands. Because those commands, you know, I spent 3 years in the Army. I've been in law enforcement for 2 years. Those commands were the most ate-up commands I've ever heard in my life. You're going to have trouble doing that correctly when you're sober. That dude was drunk. He's got 5 dudes with guns pointing at him, and there's one dude yelling these, you know, cross your ankles and your like arms and like crawl to me. It's like, wait, do what? Like the dude,
flop like a fish.
Yeah, the dude wasn't like, you know, fat or anything, but he clearly wasn't in shape. And like that's gonna be a struggle. Like putting him through an NFL combine agility test in a hallway when he's drunk with guns pointed at him, it's not gonna end out well.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that one, like no punishments at all were dished out. And I think that supervisor actually got like rehired and then got to keep his retirement, which I think is, you know, is pretty whack. But
yeah, flop like.
But if they acquitted him, or if grand jury decided not to go against him, I mean, like, what more do you want the cops to do? Because I can tell you right now, once we arrest someone and we put them in jail and we send the paperwork to the prosecuting attorney's office, like, we're done. We wait for the courts to decide what to do. You know, they'll subpoena us, come testify before grand jury, or you've got a jury trial, come testify. Mm-hmm. But once we hit submit on that report, like, we're done with it. You know, it's out of our hands.
Yeah, can you edit it past that point, or is it just like that's final? Like
no, So the way our system works, because I don't know about like all these other departments, but the way our system works is like once I submit it, it goes to my immediate supervisor. So either my corporal or my sergeant approves it. And then like basically it goes a couple more steps in our department and ends up, I don't know if the sheriff himself ever looks at it, but our second in command, our lieutenant does. And he's the last one to approve it. And then once it's approved by him, you know, people, Freedom of Information Act, you can just come into the department with a report number. You don't even have to have anything to do with that case, and you can get a copy of that report.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know that once it goes up all that, it gets sent to the prosecuting attorney's office. It's available for the public. So if it gets to that point, no, you can't edit it at all. If you can catch one of your supervisors and be like, hey, I just realized I messed this up. Yeah, can you reject it? And it's no big deal. Like, they might give you a little flack for it, but, you know, you'd be like, yeah, I forgot to put this in there, or I misspelled this, or I misquoted this.
Have they ever called you back and been like, wait, what? What happened? Like, was there something that you sent in that they're
No, it's not. I've never had something that was so, like, ate up that, you know, they called me and were like, dude, like, I don't have any idea what the hell you're saying. Now, there's been times where I've caught a mistake, and I caught it in court. You know, I had a domestic where it was two 40, 50-year-old females that were in a relationship, and, you know, that was a crazy call. That was like my first crazy domestic. I hadn't been off training very long, and I show up, and they're like beating each other with hammers and trying to stab each other with scissors.
Oh, no.
And it was in an apartment building, and the crime scene was in apartment B, but I found two of the suspects in apartment A. And so it was like I had to keep flip-flopping in the report between apartment A and B. And when I was reading over it prior to grand jury, I was like, oh,
this is...
I was like, that actually happened in apartment A, but, you know.
So out of all your life experiences, what is the thing that you would tell your high school self? Like if you were, let's say, senior year, you're trying to figure out what to do.
Is this before or after I dropped out of senior year? Because we're going to go with first semester, senior year.
First semester.
It was still looking promising for old Fred.
Yeah, so first semester, and you're about to talk to yourself right going into senior year.
Okay, always, practice the pull-out game.
Yeah.
It's a thing for a reason. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I love my boys. Don't change, like, who you are, As I've gotten older, I've become more of an adult, I take care of my bills, I pay my damn mortgage, I raise my kids, but there's going to be times when people make you feel like, who you are isn't good enough. Or that who you are is a terrible person, and...
so be true to yourself.
Yeah, like when you're in a really dark place, you start to believe it, and you're like, damn, dude.
Maybe I am off.
Yeah, I'm a terrible person.
Yeah.
But, as it gets lighter, you're going to get around those people that they're going to, not to sound too corny, you're going to love you for who you are, and
yeah,
you're gonna realize, like, I'm not a terrible person. Like, yeah, there's things I gotta work on. We all do, but
yeah, I feel like the older I get, like, you kind of see who are your true friends and stick around through the thick and thin and always encourage you. And it's like, hey man, you'll get past this, like, And then you see those friends that come and go, like, they'll be gone for like 7 months. And then they'll come back and they're like, hey man, how's everything going?
And it's like, it's not always bad. Like, sometimes it's just one of those things you don't communicate. You might hang out every once in a while, but
I think as time goes on, that circle of people,
my circle is small as hell.
It shrinks because,
well, it's like I got the circle of people I trust, and then I got, like, that's really small, and then I've got, like, the circle of people that I actually give a damn about their opinions, and, like, that's even smaller. That's like 2 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean. Like, that group of people, like, as we get older, it's easy to tell, like, okay, like, this is someone who's, like, they're going to love me for who I am, and, they're going to have my back. But at the same time, they're going to be, like, pushing me, like, dude, like, you've been slacking lately, or, like, you've been doing this. Like, come on, man, you're better than that.
And that's, something that, when I was writing that question of, what are the things that in high school, is... Yeah, be true to yourself, but be honest with yourself. Like, if you're struggling, if you need help, go get help. And, something I always struggle with was pride. It's like, I don't need help, man. I'm a man. I'll get past this. And then, like, problem. 2 years later, you're like, what happened to my life? Where am I?
See, dude, that was a hard question for me to come up with an answer for. Because I was like, man, I don't know. Like, senior year Fred had a lot more optimism than 26-year-old Fred. 26-year-old Fred's been beaten down pretty good. Taking a lot of flack.
Yeah, but I think...
Shit, like 23 to 26-year-old Fred was just beat to a pole.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, the last few years, I think for both of us have been a little rough. I mean, we have good times in them.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
But I've had some great things come out of the last 3 years. I've learned a lot in the last 3 years. I've learned a lot, dude. This year, 2020 has been.
2020 outside of just us. has
Yeah,
been
dude.
crazy.
Like outside,
On
like
top
you got
of-
all the crazy going on like
Yeah.
across the world.
Hey, let's have a normal
And then
election.
like I've had like even my own stuff is like, oh Jesus, dude. It's like one thing after another. But you know, I'm happy to say, you know, the end of 2020 is looking, you know, knock on wood, it's calming down a little
That's
bit.
plastic, so you're screwed.
You got like, your cousin got me wood in here? Like, what the hell, man?
No, I mean you're gonna have bad luck for 7 years. But
Already had it for 3, so. Well,
is there
let's
anything
do it.
else you would want to tell the people that are watching this?
Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. And free my boy Kyle. Hashtag the Kenosha Kid.
Okay, guys. On that, we will wrap this up. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Life as I Know It. Fred's here, and I enjoyed every second of it, and we're out. So, see you guys next time.